Welcome to Centaur Theatre's Saturday Salon, part of our online series for Centaur Theatre during COVID, because what else would we do but go online and talk to each other? And it's so much fun because today I get to welcome the former artistic director of Centaur Theatre, Mr. Roy Surette, who is now the artistic director of Touchstone Theatre in Vancouver. Hey, Roy. How are
Hi,
you?
Eda. I'm great. How are you? So great to see you.
It's really nice to see you too.
Yeah,
Oh, how's it been? I mean, have you missed us?
I have. I think that photo that we opened with was the opening night of
Hosanna.
Hosanna, and I think that was the last time I was in the building, as far as I
Wow.
remember. Because no, I did come by. I did come by when I was finally packing up my condo.
Oh,
I
that's
did.
right.
I
Yeah,
did have a little bit of a visit then, but
yeah, that's
there
right.
wasn't a show on at that point. So, yeah, I do. There's so many great people, and there's so many memories.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
it's strange.
we're ready for a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
So, let's see if we can test you for how well you know what you
Oh,
did.
what I did. Oh my God. Uh,
What would be yeah, oh, here we go. So, what's this? Can you see it?
oh no, I can't see it.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what it was.
Okay.
That was
This now
that.
becomes. Oh, that's
Oh,
us.
yeah, that's us. So the picture that you this one
Ah,
here, can you see it now?
I do. It came up all on its
Fantastic.
own.
And so it is the production of
Venus in Fur.
great
Is it furs or fur? I always
fur,
forget.
Venus and fur, just
Yeah, I think the book is
singular,
furs and the play is fur.
yeah, singular fur, yeah. And that
Yeah.
was a production from Can Stage and
Yes, it was.
Centaur together. Did you direct that?
I know that was who directed that? No, that was a guest production that came to us, and I can't remember who the director was right now.
Oh,
It was a big success in
in Toronto,
Toronto,
I
and
remember. Yeah. And I mean,
yeah.
the wonderful Rick Miller, who is a Montrealer for sure, and
Yes,
then and Carly Street, they were just wonderful together in that show.
yes.
Yes. So now what else? Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's put up another one. Oh, come on, Vanessa. Let's see. Oh, she's having, oh, there we go. Ah, what's this?
Oh, Triplex Nervosa.
Yes,
With,
the ultimate Montreal plateau play.
that's right. All about real estate, which was
And
kind of always terrifying.
and this was,
Schwartz's, the musical, of course. There's
yes,
glitter.
yes, there's glitter. Yes, it's a musical.
Opening number, I think.
Here we go.
Oh, Kate Lemieux, front and center, and Johanna Nutter. Oh,
Good people.
yeah, good people.
Oh, what a
David
great play
Lindsay.
that is.
Isn't that a great play?
And you
Yeah.
directed that one, right?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that play. I wish I'd seen
yeah.
it. Oh,
God of Carnage.
fantastic. Also, another wonderful, just a great conversation about the world as we live in it. It's
Totally.
so relevant.
Yeah, and that fun of doing some international work and seeing
Yeah.
what plays have been created elsewhere.
Yeah, Yasmina Reza is amazing.
I have to go back because it struck me. Of course, it was Jennifer Tarver who directed Venus in Fur.
Fantastic.
It just caught me off guard.
No worries. And this is the beautiful production of Intimate Apparel.
Yes, with the
That
beautiful Quincy and the beautiful Lucinda there.
Yeah. And who directed
Yeah,
that?
Micheline Chevrier.
Oh God, I wish
Yeah,
I'd seen that. I love that
it
play.
was pretty stunning.
Oh,
That's a Lily Saint-Cyr behind the curtain at Last Night at the Gaiety.
fantastic.
Julia Juhas and Danny Brochu.
Oh, he looks
He's
so
so
old there.
well, he's a chameleon, right? You know that he's like he can do anything.
Yes.
This was a George Rideout play in one of my
Oh, I've lost. I can't.
Tremblay, and it's Michel and Tijan. It was
Oh, wonderful.
a hypothetical meeting between a young Michel Tremblay and going to see going on the road with Jack Kerouac, who was in a real dark space.
Oh, and I know what this is because we both directed this play.
Yes,
It's
almost
Michel
at the same time.
I know, it was wonderful. Michel Marc Bouchard's Madonna Painter,
Yes,
and with the wonderful Amelia Sargison there.
yes, being carried by Graham Cuthbertson. Oh, yeah, and
Oh,
there's
the three Marys.
Yeah,
Oh,
Steph and Lucinda.
so great.
Such great people.
Well,
It is. I get nostalgic for that. Oh,
and
Claire
there's,
Coulter.
yes, 4,000
Yeah,
miles. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. Nathan
Wonderful.
Garrett, Detroit, and Liana Montoro.
And this was your first show, wasn't it?
Yes, this was the first show. It was, well, in my first season, and it was a show I had done in Vancouver with a company called Real Wheels, and it was called Skydive. And it was Kevin Kerr was the writer of it. Two actors all spent the whole time suspended in the air on this kind of invisible apparatus. And it was kind of a...
It's a company devoted to people with disabilities. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show. Oh, I love Jean.
There's Jean. That was the last show in my, tenure. That was You Will Remember Me, of course.
And that I got to see, which I was so happy to. It's a beautiful play, just beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's a gorgeous play. That was a nice one, a lovely one to go out on. Rich Quebecois, a really lovely translation, and and a great group of artists. And that's what you should flash those pictures, and I just think about the artistry and the design and the production elements and the team that you have there that has always, gone out of the way to create such magic.
Well, speaking of the team we have here, I know over your shoulder there is a painting by part of the wonderful team we have here, and that's Daniel Barkley.
Yes.
So we are so lucky to have that. It's absolutely, I know, his speaking of artistry in the building. It's thank you for that gift of carrying over into my time.
Yes. Well, he goes before. I think Daniel's been painting with the Centaur for, I think it might be nearly 30 years.
Wow, we need to do like they do at the Shaw Festival and give people like year pins.
Yeah, exactly.
So how have you been in Vancouver? What have you been? I mean, Vancouver's ahead of the curve with this. You guys are in a better shape than the rest of the country.
Yeah.
How's it been for you personally through this COVID?
It's been good. I mean, one of my big reasons for coming back west is I have an elderly mother who's she's in a, I wouldn't call it as much a care facility, but as a senior's home where she's dealing with dementia, and her Alzheimer's has been escalating quite a bit in this last year. So it's a hard time not to be able to get those visits. And she's in Victoria, which and basically visitors aren't permitted in the building right now. We talk on the telephone, and my sister, somehow being an ex-nurse, has circumvented the system a little bit and has been able to have some visits. So she'll take pictures, and we'll do some FaceTiming and all of that. But yeah, that's been one of the things that, I really wanted to get back on the West Coast to be around my elderly mother, and my brother and sister are both close by. I'm on my own in the West End, but surrounded by thousands of people. But it's really, I feel fortunate, I'm right outside of Beach Avenue and English Bay. And so when you need to chill or whatever, you can manage to pretty well social distance and get yourself right into Stanley Park. And they closed all the roads down, so the roads are now for bikes, and the trails and all of the paths are all for walking and running.
They really do it well there, don't they?
They do some things well. It's like everywhere else, we all have our individual challenges, don't we? Oh my God.
Well, what's the challenge at Touchstone? How has that affected the company?
Well, there's only 3 of us that work full time with the company, and then we would hire even production management and stage management and all of the production personnel per show. We're working isolated at home. We're still starting to get ready to go back into the office, at least partially. We share a wonderful co-op space with 3 other organizations, including the Push Festival, the other one that's quite well known in the theater. But, we're reconfiguring it so we can really be comfortable about social distancing, et cetera. And we have rehearsal halls there, and we usually really subsidize the rent of the organizations by renting them out, and we're not renting them out at all right now because we're just trying to keep it more contained. And it's that weird dichotomy where one of the things you want to do is you want to try to unify as a community, but you also have just as many obstacles because the unifying is in contrast to what we're told we need to be doing.
It is truly the essential paradox of this crisis is that every single thing about what we do as artists is devoted to collaboration, collection, gathering, being in the room together, making something happen. And so the disconnect is just extraordinary. Yeah.
I know. I think I'm still a little stunned. And I will say, we've been doing this since the beginning, in the middle of March, and I haven't really, I hadn't really slowed down for years. You know, I'd gone from kind of big job to big job. The Centaur, as you know, it's a bit of a handful. there's always something and a few things and a few.
Right.
I know let's just laugh to the end of the. You know, it's an enormous responsibility, and so I think I'm kind of maybe getting a little bit of that rest that I never really got, and I know that I'm in an enviable position to be able to do that. We are still trying to figure out what we can do. I mean, we can work on a very small scale, and it doesn't impact us too much. We don't have a big subscription base. So we, like the show we opened with last fall was a solo show in an 85-seat theater. And,
oh yes, it sounded wonderful. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, certified by J.D. Derbyshire. It's kind of an autobiographical story about her trials in the mental health system, where she was certified and hospitalized about 6 times over the course of her life, and it's a harrowing, and it's a harrowing story. She has been a stand-up comedian and improviser for most of her working life, and she's brilliant. She's just a really great performer and a great storyteller, and it was a real pleasure to. And it's a real roller coaster ride because of what experiences she conveys and goes through. But she's certainly on the other side of that. But she's a real advocate for mental health, but also, you know, acknowledging that we are all different and we do have different needs and we do have eccentricities that instead of squashing them, they should be accepted and, you know, acknowledged and accepted.
Fantastic.
Who doesn't want to hear that, right?
Yes, well, we're all going to need that after this to be accepted for our eccentricities.
It's the last thing we did at Touchstone was did a little mental health check-in with people who wanted to call in and talk with Jan, and it was very useful. But
wonderful.
So, but we can work on a very small scale like that. We work at different venues, the Fire Hall Arts Centre, the Vancouver East Cultural Centre, but maybe we'll be working. I keep walking through the park going, that grove of trees is the perfect place to have a performance.
Hey, we have a question that just came in from Kenny Stroul, and he wants to know, what do you miss? What do you miss about Montreal?
Most about Montreal, I miss the people most. I love, you know, I've always loved the architecture. I don't miss the weather. I gotta say, I know, I don't miss the sort of the extremes of it. I'm enjoying the kind of the mildness. But I miss lots of, you know, people that became colleagues, that became friends, that were artists. It's really hard every time I follow, you know, what you're doing at Centaur, and there's so many great things, and I'm going, oh, I want to see that. And, you know, I haven't been able to just zip over back to catch any shows, and I'm sorry. I know there's been.
Maybe now that things will slow down for everybody, we'll all be able to see each other's stuff a bit more. Well, actually, that's a good segue into, do you think that we're going to be able to live through this crisis by putting things online? Do you feel like that's the way of the future? I mean, there's certain elements in our cultural industry that seem to think so. What do you feel about that?
I feel like there's value in it to a degree, but not exclusively. Like, I mean, I feel like I've been really taking that opportunity to watch the National Theatre broadcast and then some local Zoom rehearsals for, you know, small scale productions. And, you know, like going to the theater, some things you go, oh, that does not work at all.
Yes.
And other times you learn something, or you get something from it. I think the ones at the National are interesting in that they are a recorded live performance, so you feel the audience, sometimes you see the audience depending on the way that the seating's configured. That makes a bit of a difference. But one of the things we did, going back to Certified, is we got invited to the Folda Festival, and we did live stream it.
Frozen. So at least you froze from. Oh, there we go. You're back now.
Am I back?
Say that again. You said going back to
I was Certified. Just saying, one of the
I think Roy is a little bit.
Am I okay now? It's not my Chrétien smile, is it? Am I there? Okay. I'm good. You're good. She said, yeah, Vanessa says that we should be okay. Is that true? I should just keep talking? Because now, Eda, you're frozen right now. I was saying, well, we tried to sort this out. We went to a festival called Folda in Kingston, a wonderful initiative, and it was about technology in theater. And what we did was we did a live stream performance of Certified, and we actually did that live stream using 3 iPhones. Jan not only wrote and starred in this piece, but she figured out all the technology. So we worked with the technicians at the Citadel Theatre, and over using 3 iPhones and an iPad, we did a 3-camera broadcast of the show that even incorporated there's an element where the audience asks the question. So I think we're up for getting creative and using the form to its fullest, but we're not Netflix. But there's some use. I can't tell. Hi, Johanna.
Hi.
I miss you too.
Well, I moved into the other room so that I'd be closer to my router. So hopefully that will help us. Hi, Patrick. Hello from Mama Brennan. There we go. Now, I think it seems like we are, I think it's because, you know what I think is happening, which is great. I think we're having these issues because people are logging in to watch because they are so missing Roy and wanting to see him. There we go. Yes, and who's this? Can you talk about the people, events that influenced your decision to pursue a career in theater? Wow, that's a big question.
That's a big one. Going back. Well, somebody that will have, significance in, I know, lots of people's lives, especially in the East, because, sometimes we're in different planets. But one of the first things I did was in junior high, I was a part of a large cast melodrama that won our local drama festival in Surrey, and we got invited to the Dawson Creek Drama Festival, and our adjudicator was Christopher Newton.
Wow.
Coming up, and I think it must have been at the time he was running the Vancouver Playhouse.
Right.
And, those people that meet you and that you meet, and they're dazzling and they're dynamic and they're smart and they're enthusiastic about what you're trying to do. I think I started going to the Playhouse as soon as I came home. That was when I was in grade 10. So I sort of got influenced by the professionals that were doing theater in Vancouver at that time. And there were some great, people. That's where I met Nicola Cavendish was just out of the Young Company there, working with Christopher, and people like Lally Cadeau and like Alan Gray and all these wonderful artists were the young ones creating work. All the Wrights, Janet Wright and Susan Wright. And
of course. Oh, how brilliant. It was also a kind of halcyon moment in Canadian theater where it was coming into its own and finding it created all the training across the country, all the independent, the regional theaters were coming into their own writing. The writers were getting happening. It's an amazing moment to have come up through Canadian theater that you are a proud product of.
Exactly. That's, like Tamanous and Touchstone sort of started right around the same time in the mid-70s. We're coming up to year 45, and that's where Larry Lillo was starting, and a few people that are still very active, like Eric Epstein, who more works as an artist but also a curator up in the north, as one of the founders of Touchstone. But those were big influences, and I think I was at Touchstone before I went to the Belfry. My first artistic director job was at Touchstone from 1984 to 97, and so I already had kind of a bunch of years, and so it's very different coming back. I mean, we're in this beautiful facility that we work out of, and most of the players are different. But when I got there, the president of the board was Pamela Hawthorne, who had been. What I noticed, she's one of the founding board members, and she was running the Playwrights New Play Center, it was called at the time. Now Playwrights Theatre Center, very similar to Playwrights Workshop Montreal, that develops stuff in conjunction and supports companies that want to lead shows into production. So that, going back to that way back question, I think one of the things that we can all probably do a little bit more is have time to really do development of projects that are of interest. Are you finding that's
that's certainly going to be a big part of what we'll spend some time on. I've been reading plays in any spare minute I have, and there's some wonderful new initiatives. The Infinite Theatre just has started something they call the chat room, where they take a play that's in progress with their unit, and then we all get on and talk about it, which was really fun. We did that last week. So
right.
yeah.
I know about that, and I actually sat in on the playwrights workshop, Montreal young people's young
creators unit. Yes, yesterday.
But the fact that it's sort of streaming while you're watching the play, I kind of went, that's like talking in the theater. Like, couldn't we do this afterwards instead of everybody going, oh, that's really a great moment, and I love the decor and all of that. But I guess that's partly, I mean, that's one of the things about, trying to simulate a sense of things being live. Johanna, who's listening in, did a really cool piece, a solo piece that she had translated through playwrights that she did in her bathroom, and it was definitely a live broadcast, like a stream, and you could feel it. You could feel that she knew we were all watching, and there was a little bit of reacting, and it felt very, it had that kind of immediacy that you get in performance. And then after the little bit of chat that happened, I remember that was one of the ones that felt the most like dynamically live. And maybe.
Oh, you froze again. So I will. It's no. I think we're in a little time warp there. Now you're back. I can see you. So yes,
there we go.
Yes.
I'm still pink. I'm still very pink.
You are pink. I know. I think that's because you had a little bit of time. But I agree with you that the idea that finding the means by which we can make it feel immediate and make that connection to the audience, which is what is that contract that a theater has, you make with the audience when they're in the room with you. And that'll be the big interesting thing to explore creatively as we look into the future, because I think that assuming that just what we used to do adapted to the screen will not be the way we figure it out. I think it's going to take a more creative approach.
Yeah.
And so that'll be interesting.
You must be having some interesting conversations at home about that with your, with Tim being a television director and filmmaker.
Yeah. I mean, he's mainly engaged right now because he's the president of the Directors Guild of Canada. So he's engaged in a lot of conversations about how do we get back to work and be safe, because there's a lot of pressure. It's a big money business. So there's pressure to get back to work, but they're trying to put in place the safeguards that will make sure that it doesn't become a vector of disease. And so it's daily and endless and really, really important conversation that they're having. So
that sort of notion of protocol or sequestering a group of artists, right? So that everybody's in the bubble. That's like quarantine together. But I know they're doing that in some TV series. I think the soap in Australia. But can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it's sort of like going to Niagara Lake. You feel a little bit.
It sounds a little bit like the Thaw Festival. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know.
No, you get that.
You go to Shaw without a car. You're in quarantine.
I know. Yes.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting. I mean, I think it will mean the kinds of relationships that you develop around making things will be quite different too. It'll be a whole other realm of things. And we were talking a couple of weeks ago with Jackie, and we were talking about the fact that this has also given us the time to think that we can take our time to work on things. And I liked that a lot, the notion that now is the time to take our time as opposed to rush to anything, and to really invest in the text and take our time with the text and delve deeply and be brave with our hearts inside of this.
That's a very good way to look at it, because there's always a feeling that the way the Canadian theatre system works, we work on fairly limited rehearsal time frames compared to some cultures, etc. And you always feel like, if we had more time to look at that. I mean, it also is nice when you can maybe look at things in sort of phases in some way, where you can do maybe a small gathering or even a Zoom gathering for a draft of something. And I know the play, we were supposed to open a play last night, Lights by Adam Grant Warren, and which is a part of an emerging writers thing called Flying Start that Touchstone's been doing. It was our 8th iteration, and it's like a year of development and then a year of it goes into production, and we're postponing that till probably this time next year. We were thinking maybe of trying to do it at Christmas, but we're nervous about the notion of a second wave. And and he's quite happy about that. He said, I'd rather wait and have it done the way we want it done than to try to rush into it.
Yeah, I think that's important because we don't want the things that when we put things back on stage, we don't want the audience afraid when they come through the doors.
No, I know. And I find myself, we've started opening up here. I did why I got this sunburn was I was happy to go and meet a friend for lunch at the Sylvia Hotel, the wonderful old Sylvia, but it had to be on the terrace as far as I was concerned, even though the restaurant was open. So we sat there for 2 hours and I felt good because it's a small terrace, and yet the tables are kind of zigzag and spaced apart. But I don't know whether I'm ready to go in. And I did get on a bus. I did go into my office, and I was kind of expected to be there by a certain time. So I hated being on the bus. I got off at about 5 stops earlier than I normally would, just because.
Yeah.
Your anxiety level goes up because you're so used to sort of trying to being able to control most elements about how you interact.
Well, and thinking about, watching a play with a mask on, or there was a photograph that that the Berliner Ensemble posted yesterday of how they've redone the seating.
Yeah.
And, I mean, part of what we strive for is that feeling of a full room, everybody laughing and crying together. So it's going to be a thing. So,
but the leg room, Eda, the leg room.
I know that I have no problem with. And I'm sure there's some people that don't want to sit behind me because I'm tall and have big hair. But I know that you have been doing some wonderful things. We only have a few minutes left. I'm glad people keep your questions coming. We're happy to answer them. But I wanted to just I know that you've been doing some photography. I mean, I sometimes I'm so jealous that you have literally at your fingertips the most beautiful sort of skyscape in the world, which is English Bay.
Yeah.
And what was that something you were doing before, or did you start doing that through this?
No, I know.
Fantastic.
That's not from my balcony because that was down just walking about a block. I was going to pick up my takeout. That was from my balcony. When I knew I was coming back to Vancouver, I really wanted to be in English Bay. It was always my go-to place that I would go to just to hang out and just to chill. I always missed it. But I had a trip to Vancouver and didn't get to go to English Bay. So I've taken an apartment that, as I've said, is about the size of my dining room of the condo that I had in Montreal. And I'm talking about now. It's like,
wow.
500 square feet, so it's small, but it's got this great big spectacular view, and it's right, and Beach Avenue has actually been closed to traffic. I know there's some really,
it looks like, I mean, those are like Turner.
I know. And you know what? Honest to God, I just point and shoot, and the only thing I ever do with them is frame them, but I never do any adjustment to the, and it's just, sometimes they're like a detail of a larger sky, and I'm always just so amazed by what's going on with the clouds. And usually at 7:30, well, now it's getting closer to 8:39, I would be in a lobby somewhere or in a tech or, we're either at a theater or going to a theater. And I've been mostly sitting at home at that time we do our 7 o'clock clap here on the, and there's like 3 towers and
the frontline workers.
Yeah. And then it starts, and it's been really salvation of sorts.
It's amazing what the natural world can offer us up. And because we do work so much, our work is so often on the inside, in a dark room, trying to recreate almost that feeling.
I know. Yeah, I know. But I know the beauty of yeah. I also want to say this was my going away present from a wonderful group of the board of directors, etc. And this is the phone that I'm taking all of them on.
Oh, great.
Yeah. The other day I was having trouble getting the power to operate, and I went this morning. I got a new cord and it works fine. So I was going, oh my God, I don't want to give up this phone, because you know how they make them so that they have a shelf life of 3 or 4 years. Apparently they do that on purpose at Apple. But it's a wonderful phone, and that's where those pictures are coming from. So
Well,
I miss those people too. You know, you had some great people, and I know that. I noticed that just on the
Fergus is
camp.
saying hi there to you.
Oh, is he? Hi, Fergus. Nice to see you too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, and there's Anne Hodges. Look
Hi,
at that.
Anne.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you have the same
Oh,
birthday.
we do.
When
Coming
is
up.
your birthday?
Well, it's on the 5th of June. Now we've given it away,
Oh,
right, Anne?
oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I mean, you are beloved here and you are missed very much. I'm not sure I will ever fulfill the kind of joyful presence that you brought to Centaur, because it was.
You are bringing great stuff to Centaur, and that's everybody knows that too.
But
I've said this to you. I don't envy the bigness of an organization like Centaur with so many balls to juggle. I keep going, oh my God, I'm so glad it's not me. So I applaud you for. No, I totally applaud you for maneuvering on that scale of so many considerations and factors, and there's so many always difficult decisions, and there's so many heartbreaking decisions, and you know, there will be joy, there will be creativity, and you know, there'll be a great artistry. You bring that in spades, but I feel, don't you feel, well, we all feel for all of our peers, because it's sometimes sometimes there'll be an instance where something goes down at a company and we all go, oh, that's terrible. But when we've all kind of been put in the same boat, and to various degrees of how to deal with it. But man, it's a mind.
But it is the salvation to be able to talk to each other. And thank God this has happened when there is the internet. So that we can have these conversations where we can see each other's faces and talk and laugh together, and not we are not alone, for sure. And that really, I do feel that completely. So, and I'm so happy to see you. And
you too.
And to hear what you've been up to and what's coming up, even though it will be a little while. We know, as we've been saying here in Montreal, ça va bien aller. It will be all right.
Yes, it will be. It will be. It will come through it. Like,
it's going to happen. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Roy. And
thanks for the
don't
invitation.
be a stranger when they let you out of BC. And, and I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for watching, especially everybody from Vancouver that watched us today. Really happy to see you. And there's another happy birthday from Toronto, watching from
Victoria.
Toronto. And I also want to thank everyone who has already donated to our wonderful COVID relief campaign, The Show Must Go On. We're so grateful to your support for that. And if you don't know, if you're interested and want to know more, there we go. That's the info. You can find us at centaurtheatre.com. And anything you can afford to do is a huge help to us. We're so going to make it through, but we only make it through all together, because we're in this together. And I'm really, really proud to be part of Centaur and part of the wonderful team at Centaur. And I want to remind you next week that we'll welcome Micheline Chevrier, the artistic director of Imago Theatre, to our next Saturday Salon. So stay well, stay safe, and enjoy the fact that it's finally spring. Thank you.